All right, well, that should wake you up on a Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hi, everyone. This is Mike. I think Noelle jumped in her chair, she told me. Everyone hear the music there. If you're here, just jump into the chat. Let me know that you're able to find the chat. That's how you're going to communicate with me today. Ask questions, etc. Let us know where you're from. Maybe what your niche is in your business or organization, and we can somehow maybe tailor to that as we go along today. Hi, Jason, Tim, Jen, how are you? Dallas, great. Starting to get hot down there. Ivan or Yvonne, depending on where you are. And Gregson from Las Vegas, Massachusetts. Hey, everyone, Alabama, South Africa. Wow, all right. Good to see you, Morris. Some of my best friends in the world are South Africans. Yeah, good people. I always joke, I think they have the best genes of anyone I've ever met. They can run faster, swim faster, jump higher, just about everything. They really amaze me, actually. That's awesome. Video production company in Columbia. Hi, Yvonne. I'm going to say Yvonne from Columbia. Marketing agency and consulting. Lexington, North Carolina. Hi, Joe. I'm very familiar with Lexington. Originally from North Carolina. I'm in North Carolina right now, out on the coast, actually. So, yeah. And hi, Carolyn. All right. Good to see everyone. I think there's more here, but let's go ahead and get started today. Just as I'm explaining what we do here, a typical webinar might be a thing where you come in and someone goes step by step through a software where you get to see every little piece of it and how it works. If we tried that with SweetDash, it would take days and days. So what we do here is we try to provide a forum, a place where you can come on a regular basis and get your questions answered. We won't be able to walk through and do step by step because that way not everyone will get served. But what I'm going to try to do is help you over conceptual hurdles if you have them. So your questions should be around, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that, and I will do my best to try to find a way to help you over that hurdle so that it becomes simple, or at least you get it, and then you can go off and make that happen and come back possibly later to ask more questions if you need. So that's the purpose here. But as we get started, you're seeing the SweetDash website, which, by the way, is starting to evolve a little bit, I hope in a good way. But if you haven't already, go ahead and start a free trial. There's no better way to get a look at the software, see if it will fit your needs. Along that journey, the documentation is your best bet. For sure, some of the questions that we get in support, if those questions would have been typed into the search box, then all of Noelle and her team's hard work would be pay off. Because if you say, for example, what is a portal page, you're going to get an article all about portal pages, right? And a lot of other associated information that will really help you along. Also, SweetDash Academy is videos. If you learn best by video, there's a lot of walkthrough videos in here. Some are as long as 30 minutes, like with a complete walkthrough, step by step, very methodical and with diagrams and all these other things to help you if you wanted to do that. And then the SweetDash community is you'll find that here at community.sweetdash.com. is a place where you can go and you'll have to create an account by signing up, but there's many of our customers there. Our team is fairly active there, and this is a place where you can get help and get run your problems by other Sweetmates who are in the same position as you, trying to solve the same problems as you, and that usually ends up being a good thing for everyone, learning from each other, helping each other with ideas. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get the chat up here. Let's see. Yep, there's the chat. Everyone can see that. Let me scroll back and see if we can find some questions here. Let everyone in. Yeah, but first, before we do that, let me put the chat away, and let's go to a little segment, I guess we can call it, but just a quick tip on how to use the portal and how to set things up. And I won't spend too much time here, but this is a concept that I think is important, and a lot of people sort of just don't think of it in this way. And what I'm trying to explain is the intake form leading into the portal and leading to a start page. Okay. So if you put an intake form on your website for lead generation, and then you use 20 or 30 different questions there and try to get all of your questions answered on an intake form on your website, typically that's going to be a mistake, because that's a lot of friction. You're not going to get that email address that you're after. Someone's going to look at that form and they're going to run away. They're never going to fill all that out. So this is the reason that we typically are recommending, when you embed an intake form on your website, let's keep that to 3, maybe 4 questions. Really small, as small as you can handle it, right? First name, last name, email address, and maybe 1 or 2 other questions, but really that should be the max. And what you're going to do then is code that intake form or configure it using our settings, which are really self-explanatory. And you can set a lot of things as you see here. Their coordinator, their circle, their email marketing list, and there's more than this, but it's just an example of the things that you can set up just from this intake form being completed. You can make assignments of all these things to that person who completes to the contact that completes the form. So then they complete the form. You will configure the welcome email to be automatically sent, and the contact receives that welcome email. They come to the portal, they set their password, and they get logged in. You receive a notification. This is optional, but it is default. And then if what you want to have ready is a start page, which is just a portal page that's configured as a start page for someone in that circle, or all. You can configure a start page to go to all clients or all prospects. And then on that start page here, where you see next actions determined by instructions, this is where you'll define their journey based on the type of client that they are. You know, maybe you put a paragraph of instructions, or you put step 1, step 2, step 3, a video maybe of you welcoming them into the portal. And this is your way of customizing their experience right from the beginning. But what you can also do, if you have 20 questions that you now need to ask, is you can embed an update form, see what we call a CRM update form on that portal or their start page, and they can complete that form. And then now that they have 1 foot in your world, now they're a little more committed. Now they're clearly interested, and they would be much more likely to complete that form. You don't necessarily need to have it on the start page. You could put a button on the start page that says, click here to complete our questionnaire or form or whatever information you need, which can link to another portal page where you then can embed the form. So, you know, how things go from this point is really up to you and your workflow and how you design it. But the important part to remember is, with this intake form, don't try to get too much on the front end from a lead. Let's try to get, I think it's really smart to just use a few questions, get them into your funnel, which is all these settings. Try to get them into the portal if that's part of the way that you want to have your workflow go. And if you do that, then you can present them with the next steps, which can include more data gathering, file uploads, etc., etc. All right, so just a concept that it's nice to hammer home and make sure that everyone is thinking about as you decide how to make your configurations. All right. Okay, so Tim, let's get to Tim's question. I think Noel might be trying to answer it, but let's go ahead and just get it out there, and we'll see what we can do. Tim says, is it possible to combine contract terms into a proposal and just use a signed proposal as the actual contract? This would be helpful for simplicity and less friction. Yes, Tim, that is possible. So let's go to, here's a proposal. I have one here. So let's talk about how proposals work. So you can create multi-page proposals, and it's easier. Let's look at it in preview mode. This is a custom loader that you can configure in white label. And for those of you that aren't familiar with SweetDash, I'm operating in a completely white label environment here, so you won't see anything about SweetDash. These are mock companies that we use to illustrate the white labeling. Tim, so here on the accept and sign page is where you would typically want to configure your language for a contract, for example. Because what we're going to do is append at the end of any content that's here a signing box, this one you see here, where they can just type their name or they can click to signature and sign their name. All of this gets filled in dynamically, and you can even modify this language based on your needs. But yes, let's go to edit here. So on this page, you can put your entire contract, essentially, all the language of your contract, and save that. And then at the end, notice that the signing box is not there now, but at the end of your terms and your contract, we're going to append this, and that's going to be presented to your prospect or client. Okay? Does that answer your question, Tim? Let's get to the chat here. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to stick with what Noel is chatting with Tim. Tim, partial payments is on our roadmap for this quarter, and yes, you will be able to set not only partial payment as an option, and then they pay whatever. You'll be able to actually specify the amount that needs to be paid, deadlines for that amount, and more than just one as a deposit. You could set multiple partial payments as part of that. Installment payments is what we call the feature. Okay, but about the proposal, that answered your question, Tim? No, you don't. Well, not necessarily, because what we do here is if you put this the language that you need here, that covers you on your illegal side. We treat this in the same way. We IP stamp this. We have basically a flow recorded, IP address, so that everything is binding as far as this goes when signing a proposal, just like signing a contract. Yep. Contracts, here's a little sneak peek. Contracts will be renamed soon to documents. So when it says contracts, it really is a signing of a document, but it's not the only way to sign a document. So a proposal is essentially the same as a contract with some marketing pages in front of it, essentially, right? And then you have accept and sign. Okay. I'm going to assume that's good, and we'll go back and look for other questions. Let's see. Yes, as Noel says, a proposal is basically a contract in itself. It should work just fine. So I wouldn't get hung up on the nomenclature there, Tim. Okay, Zach's question is there a way to do a search for a person in the CRM instead of having to load the contacts and do it to Control F? Yes, Zach. You just hit the filters. So let's go ahead and look there. Let's see if I have it up somewhere. I don't, but I will. One sec. And we'll just demonstrate for Zach and everyone else. And let me look for another question here. Good. Elevation Allah, the flow chart. It's not available at the moment. It's something that is available in a lot of the videos, but the thinking is that we'll release a larger document that consists of several flows, just as example flows that are similar. Back to Zach. Zach, if you just hit filter here, search by name, and just start typing the client name, you get them immediately, and you'll be taken right to them, at which time you can perform actions from here, or you can go into their dashboard. Coming soon is a new menu here that will be more like what we would call a mega menu. It would stretch out to here, with the options would be a little bit more organized and a fingertip. So that's something that's in progress now. But yes, this is a quick way to find your, by searching a name, Zach, or you can search it by many other ways, right? Filter. And you can even save a filter. Like say you're like, okay, I love this filter. This is the way I want to filter my contacts, especially if you have 1,000, 5,000, however. And you can save whatever filter you like by save as new, set a name for it. And then when you open up this filter instead of having to configure them all again and again every single day, you just select which filter you want, and boom, it'll be not only loaded, but then the filter will activate immediately. Okay. How is the integration with QuickBooks? It's a one-way integration, Yvonne. When you make invoices in SweetDash, they are replicated in QuickBooks, but it's not a two-way, which is, I think, the essence of your question. One day it possibly could be. QuickBooks strategically makes their integration a little bit limited. I'll put it that way. QuickBooks is out for QuickBooks, and I wouldn't have it. I wouldn't do it any. If I was them, I would do it the same way. But making a seamless integration where everything is perfect for another app, then you start to wonder why we wouldn't use the QuickBook tools that they're developing and trying to market. So I'm not saying we have that integration maxed out. We have work to do there in the future as they add more options as well. But in general, we're doing the best we can on that. Yvonne says, where is I think you mean when, Yvonne, is the LMS going to be launched? And Q2. That's right, Noel. We're targeting by the end of Q2. It's a big feature. All right. Tim, we covered your question about partial payments, 50% deposit. Yes, that will be covered when installment payments is implemented, and that's slated for Q2, yes. All right, Jen, here's a good question. I own a travel agency, and I'm struggling to figure out if I can make the CRM work the way I need it to. I need to get the basic client information and have them sign off on various forms, but then I need to be able to track their trips and bookings and all the details. Based on where they are traveling, I need to send them a series of emails leading up to their trip. Okay, well, let's start with the last sentence, Jen. Based on where they're traveling, I'm going to assume that you have maybe 10 or 15 different primary destinations that you're talking about. Otherwise, you wouldn't have, say, 200 different ones that you need to build messaging for. So in this case, what you would do is you would create a circle for each one of those. Right, so let's just say we have people that want to travel to South Africa. All right, just for a good example that we are already covering today, we'll create a circle called South Africa, and then when you're adding, or just call it email marketing South Africa or something like this, depending on what the content of this drip is that you need. Okay, I think I'm starting to see the other side of your question, but let's just get through this first part and then we'll clarify that, Jen. So then when you're adding them, you're going to add them to an email marketing list, which you'll see here. The list will have what's called autoresponders associated with it, and you can then start messaging them based on if they're going to South Africa. You could send them a weekly email every week with tips and tricks on how to travel successfully and safely in South Africa, etc. But now I'm starting to realize that probably you need that autoresponder to be based and calculating off of a trip date, right? Is that where you're going? All right. Good. Jen says yes, that's right. So typically, and in every software that I know of that does autoresponder drip campaigns, you add to a list, and it's going to then let's go and look together. List. It's going to calculate from the date of sign up. Click again, and 5 days, 10 days, 15 days, etc. That's how that's the calculation for when these emails are sent. Okay, so if we click autoresponders here, I think I have some in here. Yeah. So see, 1 day, 3 days, 7 days. But interesting, Jen. That's interesting. We have a feature that we developed that was similar based on event dates called in project profiles, where we have what we call a based on date. So from the based on date, you can use a positive or a negative variable to set. In this case, the quote unquote based on date is based on the date that they are added to the autoresponder. But what might be interesting, and we don't have this now, I want to make that very clear, but what might be interesting is to create a configuration for a mailing list. Well, it wouldn't be a list. It would have to be an independent autoresponder or drip campaign that would have these relative dates. You could make negative, and then you would set a based on date for each in particular client, which would be their trip date, and then say 7 days before, or 3 days before, or 1 day before. That would work, right, Jen? If we had some configuration, some structure like that. Yep. Interesting. Jen, I think you were recently someone who requested a feature related to the travel agency niche for vaulting credit cards. Yes, Jen. Okay, I'm familiar with. Okay. And we are making moves in that direction, Jen, because travel agencies, I think, could be a strong niche for us. Would you agree, Jen, if we had, say, the credit card storage option, some messaging here related to like a reverse chronological time scale that we could configure in the way that we said, other parts of the application, I think it could be pretty helpful and a good option for travel agents, especially smaller. Yep. Okay. Jen says, I love the system overall and love the portal, just concerned that CRM piece can't store and manage all the information I need, meaning credit card storage, the vaulting, and meaning the trip details. Trip details, let's get back to that. Let's go back to Jen's question so that everybody can see it. Okay, yeah, let's work towards that part. So in general, Jen, I would call trip detail. I would use projects for that. Now I'm not sure that we'll be able to go through step by step and see how that can work for you. But you can create as many projects as you need to for one client, for example. So if you have a client that travels often, you'll create a new project for each trip. And inside that project, you can have tasks that you can assign to the client. I need you to provide me this, provide me that. You can even run timers. You can use their calendar is associated. And this is what we call a project dashboard. And this can be shared with the client. Dated updates and date stamped updates can be added. They can comment back. You can really customize how this is used based on your use case. You define how it would be used, and you can even change the name. Projects doesn't have to stay projects. It can become whatever you like using the translation feature. So really you could customize this to your needs, and that would keep each trip. Okay, let's go back. Trip details. Okay. But you can customize how this works and have your clients interact with it in a way that I think maybe they might find unique and somewhat interesting. And usually this would be used maybe for the logo of the company you're doing a project for. But in your case, you can put your logo here or not show it at all and just show the project progress. Again, all this can be renamed based on your needs, right? Using the translation feature, which is not always for translating to another language. It's often used for just changing the way something is said in the platform to fit your niche. Okay, let's see. Yvonne, I'm going to go with Yvonne and then scroll back. Is there a way to collect data for a project? For example, my customer needs me to create 5 web pages. How can I collect data from each project with forms in order to use it with conditional logic? The first answer, Yvonne, is going to be work requests. Okay, so work requests you can create custom forms for work requests. So if you have, if you wanted to create a form, now I'm looking at it from the admin side. You can't create work requests from the admin side. Let me get to the client side here. Let's see if I'm still logged here. Okay, let me get logged in really quick. Here's a custom login screen. This is the center login configuration. Okay. Ivan, is it Ivan or Ivan? First, Ivan, right? Colombia, right? So I'm thinking in Colombia it's always Ivan. Okay, good. All right. So now, Ivan, so you have your client come. They're going to create a work request. Again, you can rename this to whatever you'd like using translation. You can call it project details or project fill-in, anything you want. Okay, so we're going to call it work request. Now, the form that's presented here, when they go to work, this is completely customizable. Okay, you can completely customize this form using custom fields, and I'll show this really quickly. We're going to go to custom fields. You're going to create a new custom field here. You're going to select the usage, which is going to be work request, and the type, single line, or you can use any one of these you'd like. And you're going to create a field for data collection based on what you need, as many as you need, and then they're going to show up because they're usage work requests. They're going to show in this form that you see on the client side. Now, they can complete all these and submit it. You can even select this as, you can even make it like almost like a shopping cart. Like, oh, I want to add a one page, or I want to add, look, if you had priced it by the page, for example, 2 page, 3 page, however it works for you, and then they submit. You can even require payment for this by credit card before the work request is actually submitted. And then on the admin side, you can take that work request and you can convert it. Wrong. Sorry. You can convert it to a new project or into an existing project. And what it will do is we'll take each item of the work request and add it in as a task in the project. Or you can add it to an existing invoice, an estimate. There's a lot of options here you can take. But so basically it takes all that data submitted by the client and it converts it into another element, another item in the platform, but it carries all the data along with it in a helpful way. So if it's invoice, for example, it's going to actually make a line item for each little piece of the work request. And then all the pieces of data that you collected, these are custom fields, and thus they are available for use as dynamic data, which I think that's what you mean when you say conditional logic. You will be able to show that data in the project in, say, for example, let's go here into tasks. In the project description, you're able to use dynamic data placeholders to display the data of the project. So for example, in this project description, this, for example, company, that's powered by a dynamic data placeholder. This is dynamic data. All these are, right? And I created this project from a project profile where I already built all this in advance, and every project gets zipped out with or generated with this exact project description. But based on which client is assigned to, I get these returns of data. And you can do the same with the data placeholders that you are going to be using from the work request items, or I'm sorry, the custom fields that you have associated with a work request. All right, Yvonne, was that helpful? Too much? Too little? Great. Now I can use that information with an automation. For example, a date field. Yes, yes, yes. Yvonne, sharp. Good. Exactly. So what Yvonne is saying is, can I use that information within the automation for example, a date field to set what should happen after 1 month. In some cases, Yvonne, we have some automations that are based on that type of thing where you can use a custom field, a date, for example, to trigger actions. And we will be extending that, but I'm just thinking on the fly here. So if we go to project profiles and do an edit here, let's get in here and edit this project profile. You'll see that you can set this profile to recur every, if we enable these scheduling options, you can set it to recur on a date or every 1 month, and in this recurring option, or you can say on a specific date, or here is an example of what you said, or on the value of a custom field, which in your case is going to be a date type custom field. That's the only type you'll see here. And this is of type date. And so what it means is that this is going to recur on this date, right? Or not recur, but it will generate on this date. So in your case, you would be able to generate a new project based on this. But there are other places that we want to use that as well. Yes. But good that you're seeing that use case. So the date can be taken from the work request, or is it the contact custom field? Good question. Good question. It depends on the automation. I really would need to understand the automation that you're going after. But I think you're right, though, that this one is a CRM contact custom field and probably not a work request field. But yes, if you have a specific use case, Yvonne, I would say write into help@sweetdash.com with a video, a screencast video, or just a good explanation or a flowchart, and see what workarounds we might be able to help you with, or at the very least, we'll see their use case and work towards it in our development. Okay? Yeah, Jen. So Jen's saying I need overall management agency reporting of knowing who is traveling, when, totals by agent, totals by destination, package costs, commissions. It's getting a little bit specific, Jen, there. I mean, in time, could we have tools that would allow all of that? Maybe, but I wouldn't want to convince you that somehow all of that would be possible today or in the next few weeks or months. There's a lot there, and it's niche specific. Yeah, so we're looking to develop tools that can be universal, and in some cases it does help to look at a niche and then step backwards towards universal. So surely these kind of exposure to this kind of your needs is helpful to us. But the reporting side and the cost and commissions and things like that, I don't see a correlation with the way that we think of the next few months and quarters. All right, let's see. And you guys are talking about travel specific CRMs. Okay. All right. Tim says, are there any HTML cheat sheets for proposals? I would like to have a header image with text and logo over the top. Great question, Tim. Thanks for asking. All right, let's go to your flyout menu, and you should see templates library here, or template library. If you don't see template library, it's because you had an account before we released this, and in our efforts to protect those who have a white label set up and don't want that to be upset, we delivered template library is off by default for those existing accounts. So what you want to do, Tim, is go to platform branding, which you can find here, flyout menu to platform branding, scroll to the bottom, and be sure that the template library is enabled. Okay? And then in the template library, you would be able to find a nice example of how to start, or an HTML cheat sheet, as you say, Let's filter by proposals. Sorry, proposals. So there's 2 or 3 here that can get you a start. And then, of course, you'll have to, yours will need to be unique to you, or not unique to you, but serve your needs. So I think that's a good place to start, Tim. There's 6 of them here, too. And I think you said you need an image at the top. Yes. And some other things. One sec. Okay. All right, let's go back. All right, Yvonne, we talked. Tim says, created first marketing campaign, successfully set up email settings. Receive success email, SMTP setup is Outlook 365. Okay. Then tried sending email to a list with only 1 member. Result was not sent. Yeah, I would say contact the help team and just make sure that that your settings are correct. But you said you received a successful test. Did you receive a successful test, or the success email when you did your SMTP setup? This one. So, but regardless, either way, I think the easiest thing is just to shoot an email with a screencast video or an explanation that's complete to the help team, and they will jump on that and do their best to help you sort out what's going on there. Okay? Yes, as Noel suggested, yes. Okay, so Zach says, any thoughts on affiliate programs so that we could allow our clients to refer other people to us and we can provide a credit or payment, etc. Yeah, Zach, so that's a recurring concept that comes around every, few weeks, I think. When you say refer people to you, okay, let's just talk about it. I mean, of course, I'm familiar with how affiliate programs work and the tracking of that, etc. But you want to refer by digital click or refer by some other functionality. What's the most useful for you? I mean, digital is really the only foolproof way, but then the issue is that someone can come into a URL referral link. Yep. But someone can come another way, right? I mean, I think a lot of us have seen an affiliate link before and then just decided to type in the website instead of the affiliate link for whatever reason. Curious about some other way, like if you have a sign-up process. One of the things we want to implement into all of our paid processes, like for subscriptions, for example, paid portal access, is a coupon code. So conceivably, we could call it a reference code, something like that in your case, and that code could be passed verbally over the phone and entered into whatever funnel process you have as an alternative, right? The URL with reference link is kind of a no-brainer, that's for sure, and we could track that in. And then the second part of the question would be we'd have to set up the infrastructure in the back end for payment digitally, if that's what you want. So there's a lot of roadblocks there as well. All your affiliates, or in your case clients, they would all have to have some Stripe Connect connection or PayPal address. I'm pretty sure you don't want to write them all checks for XY or however much money. Yeah. Stripe Connect, yeah. Stripe Connect is certainly the best solution for something like this. We've done a lot of development around Stripe Connect, so most people have no problem with it at all. It's just a bank account or to a debit card, and it's pretty easy connection. And what it basically does is it creates it asks them for their email address. If they haven't a Stripe account already, it makes the association. If they don't, it creates a pseudo Stripe account. It's actually a Stripe account, but it creates that Stripe account light on the fly, and then later that person can come in and do the verifications that are needed to make the payout, etc. But yeah, it's a good system. What's cool about it is you can split payments. Like if you accept $50 in a platform, you can split it as many ways as you like to smaller players in the game, or however it works in whatever model. Okay, so that's thoughts on an affiliate program. It's probably not close, Zach. I would say that would be something that we would address later down the road. So let's see what Elevation has to say. The affiliate program is implemented. Please make it where it's a 2-tier system, because it allows more opportunity. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, there you go. Let's make it let's make it really complicated. No, I get that. So yeah, the 2-tier system is it's not so much more difficult than the 1-tier system. It just requires another level of logic. And then how do you deal with these affiliates, and do they log in? What permissions do they have? It's a lot to think about, yeah. Yvonne says, how can I connect sales made with another shopping cart with SweetDash in order to deliver the experience within my own app? Right now, Yvonne, I think the solution is going to be Zapier, the only one that I could recommend. So if you're using WooCommerce or BigCommerce or Shopify, you should be able to pass the data associated with the client, the customer in your case, to SweetDash, and you'll be able to specify in Zapier in the integration circle affiliation, all that. And so you should be able to, using that circle affiliation and the other tools provided in the Zapier integration, configure those peak customers on the way in, and then design the experience in SweetDash to deliver exactly the experience. Yeah. Zach says, can we see the invoices that are unpaid somewhere on the admin side? Yes, Zach, you can list the invoices and then filter them by status. When I go to research payment, didn't clear for my client's client, I have to impersonate and to see the open unpaid invoice, or go to Stripe. I think you should be able to see it from the admin side, but let's just look together. Yes, Elevation says Zapier. So you should be able to filter by status, and open status will show anything that's unpaid, that's actually open but not paid, and also overdue. Okay, so that should do it for you. But let me know if that's not, if I didn't understand correctly. All right, Tim says, can we send a proposal/contract to a prospect, have them sign it, and generate an invoice that is sent by email, all without having them being a signed-in client? Signed in. You'll have to create them as a client, Tim. You have to create them. I think you're asking is, do they need to be signed in? So let's go through it together. I think we're pretty close to that as far as the capabilities. Let's go to billing proposals. We provide a non-logged link for proposals. We provide a non-logged link for invoice. So let's just say we go here. This is an open proposal. I can go to options and say copy this approved link, which puts it on my clipboard. I can send it to them now without being logged into the platform, or by an email, and have that be not logged into the platform. I'm going to open now a new browser, Brave, incognito, and we're going to paste this link, right? See the coded link, and that's how the coding is how we know what proposal and who it is. All right, so this is a non-logged proposal, okay? Now, yes, they can sign it. Accept and sign is on this page, yes. And then generate an invoice that is sent by email. Yeah, I think so. So what we can do here, Tim, is we can assign actions, manage actions. are associated with the signing of this proposal. We're going to configure the actions here, and we're going to specify that we want this converted into a convert to invoice, and we're going to set a title, set a relative due date. We're going to say it's due 7 days after. We're going to set the gateway, and here looks like a possible translation issue because we have a blank here, but I think this says send email immediately and then redirect to the client to the created invoice. And we're going to save this, right? And then when the proposal gets signed, it's going to be immediately converted to an invoice, which is then due for them. If they receive this email, the email has a non-logged link in it, just like I showed here in Brave. So yes, I think this is something that you can do. And it should be all automated, actually, once they get that first proposal link. All right, let's take a look. Cool. Good, Tim. Let me take that down. Noel, if you can make a little note here that we're willing to check this translation, more than likely, that's all that's going on here. Let me get back to here. And the chat's showing good. Okay. Let's scroll up. All right. Good. That's Tim. All right, Jason. Jason says, I apologize. I had to step away. Okay. That's all right. Wondering if Office 365 integration will be on the roadmap, specifically Office Calendar and email. Yes, the calendar for sure. We're just finalizing the two-way integration with Google Calendar, after which we will approach the other popular calendars on the planet Earth, Microsoft and Apple, which really basically is everything. So yes, we will be looking to integrate the calendar. Email's a little bit different story. As of now, we are not of the mind that we want to have this sort of 100% email integration, but if you look at our roadmap for Q2, you'll see that there's an email integration spec'd, and it's still being planned, but the idea will be that it would allow you to have selective email integration, we'll call it, so that, for example, you would be able to choose when you want an email, quote unquote, recorded by the system or tracked by the system. And then when that, in the case that you do choose that, then yes, as you are probably alluding to, it would be recorded under that client's profile and available as a history as you look at that client and work that client over the years, right? So I think that's, Jason, I think that's the best answer I can give now. We don't necessarily have a perfect plan around the email, still forming itself. Yeah. Well, Elevation is somewhat right. I believe that they might be charging money for access to that API, yes. In addition, I'll explain some other aspects to it, Jason. Google, for example, now has implemented a very rigorous, they've set the bar very high by requiring a very expensive security audit for access to specific parts of their API. It's not really needed. But what myself and others think is it's strategic requirement to move the bar higher and higher and higher for companies out there. The problem with something like that is it's achievable. Yes, we could jump over that, but they require it every year. And what's the logic behind that? The logic is, of course, that Google will continue to develop project management and other types of software, and they'll be able to reduce the competition significantly as they continue to box people out, right? Over the years, every year the bar will get higher and the slope will get slipperier, and then suddenly, I expect Microsoft to follow suit for sure. All the big boys will always try to absorb as much. Well, look at Tile, right? You guys know the company Tile, who makes the trackers. I I mean, they're essentially out of business. They're going to be completely out of business because of air tags. Nobody wants a tile now. Why would you want that? So, you know, and there's example after example of small companies who have come up, and then the Google fence gets bigger and the Apple fence gets bigger, and you just get completely put out of business. Yeah, the empire. So anyway, we are trying to understand how we can do business, how we can provide you with the solution that you want without tethering ourselves to that, without committing ourselves to a path that will not allow us to back up, not allow us to say, oh, this now we realize what's happening, we want to go back, but if we go too far, there's a point of no return. And so we're being very careful logically and strategically about going down that road. Yeah. So there's the answer. Don't tell Google I said that. They'll crush me like they'll crush us like a bug if they want to, obviously. But yes, Jason, that's the answer. And the strategy revolves around open source solutions, like not open source, but open solutions that they really don't have a choice of supporting things like IMAP and SMTP. So we think that we can operate in that way, using those tools in a way that will accomplish the goal that you're after, but without getting in bed with them in a way that we can't get out, right? All right, Yvonne says, how can I create a step-by-step process when people only see what I need and move on after they finish the previous step? I have a 9-step process with video, text, and tasks. Okay. And what defines good, Yvonne? Good. I'm gonna tell you how you can do it now, based on, or possibly depending on your requirements. And I'm also going to introduce a new feature that we have in planning that will be perfect for this. In fact, it's exactly perfect. So, Yvonne, what defines the completion requirement, is what we call it here, for finishing the previous step? Is that something that needs manual approval by you? Is that something that they can just say, yes, I've done that, and move on to the next? I'm going to have a sip of water. People choose, so that they can manually say, I'm complete, I'm done, I'm ready for the next step. All right, so in that case, Yvonne, you can do that now with essentially the tools that we provide. So let's go to, here's a portal page, right? A portal page is really kind of the backbone content page in the portal. What can you do on a portal page? You can display charts, graphs, dynamic data, etc. You can use our button block to create custom linking out to other parts of the portal or functionality in the portal. You can also embed update forms. So what I would say, on an update form, you can specify a redirect URL. So what we often recommend as a tool to facilitate this kind of structure is, you would say, for example, create a page where you display your video. I'll just use that as an example. Video, some content. Then at the bottom of the page, you're going to add a update form, very small update form, something like, I've completed this step, and you're going to call this update form step 1. So let's just be really intentional here, but I will try to show it at the same time that I am explaining it. But the update form, you'll call it update step 1. It'll have a very simple requirement, 1 or 2 fields, and that's it. Even 1 field is fine. When they submit it, you're going to set the redirect URL for the URL of the next portal page in your structure, which will be number 2. You're going to present your content there, and at the bottom of that one, you're going to put this second unique update form, and that's going to redirect to number 3. And then and so on. You're just going to follow that pattern. So as they complete, quote unquote, complete or certify themselves that they are complete, they'll do that by completing the form. Let's look on the client side and see if I can provide an example. Yeah, I can't remember which one of these pages has the example I'm looking for. But let's go back to now the forms. We're going to go to Update Form here. And then you're going to set in the embed settings, you're going to set the redirect URL. So you'll just make this 1 or 2 questions, and then you go to Link Embed, and you're going to set a redirect. Here, you're going to disable the success message, and you're going to enter the redirect URL, and this can be a relative URL. How you find this URL is a little more advanced. Is you'll go to the client side of that page, right? You can do that by impersonation really easily. And you're going to grab, if you can see here, the relative part of the URL, meaning relative to your custom domain. And it looks just like this. You're going to copy that, and you're going to place that in this redirect right here. And you're going to do that one page after another. So it's a little bit of a advanced move, as they say, but it's 100% doable, and you can go one to the other. And then you could create a start page that would be similar to this, for example, where you can create a tile or a button that would go to each step and get them to shortcut them to the step. Now, is that perfect? No. But what's coming is an answer to exactly your needs, and it's a feature we call journeys. Okay. So journeys is exactly, you would define your 9 steps. Let's go back to your question while I'm talking. You would define your 9 steps and call them and name them. You would provide the content or provide the element, which could be like something like a project, even could be a step. So step 3 might be the project. Not in your world, but in some worlds it could be. And that step 3 is not, the completion requirement is not satisfied until the project is completed. Or step 2 might be an invoice payment or an estimate approval or whatever you specify as that step. But we will, of course, monitor what you specify, and when it's completed, we will automatically move them to the next step. And part of the journey functionality will be, on the client side, they will have a journey dashboard, which is something I was just describing that you might be able to build manually, but it will be built for you already and dynamically built, and show them step 1, step 2, step 3, show them where they are in the journey, which milestone they're on, that's the terminology we're using, and allow them to, and they can click, depending on which milestone they are, they'll click the action button associated with it, which will take them to the process, or if you set that milestone to be the completion requirement as manual, meaning the client gets to choose, in your case you said yes, then they would just click I've completed this step, and it would move them to the next step. Okay. Also, we'll be building in an admin approval completion mechanism, which would be they get to submit a form or upload a file, and then it needs evaluation. So you'll say, okay, you did that, but it's waiting on admin approval. The milestone step will send email notifications as needed to the appropriate staff on your side. They'll be provided a link where they can go and preview that resource, that uploaded file or that PDF or whatever it is. And then they can click approve very easily. And that will be the completion requirement for the milestone. And we'll move them on to the next step based on that. So it's quite flexible built in that way, and it should provide you exactly what you're after. Certainly with after several iterations, but in the beginning, this is exactly what you're asking for. Is exactly what we are designing. Yeah, it's slated for Q2. Yvonne is still in planning phases and design phase, so it's not being worked on as of yet, but it is a high priority for sure, because I think not a week goes by for sure in the webinar, and certainly not in the help and support where we don't recognize a query as this is a journey customer, right? Just from the raw business standpoint, it's a high priority for us. Yes. Okay, great. Yes, Yvonne, and so it's. Thank you. Yvonne says he's in for that. He's a great feature, and we agree. It's not something you can build from day one. I mean, we could, but it would be all these manual buttons. Basically, you're like, okay, I did this, I did. But now that we have all these mechanisms built, right? Projects, invoices, proposals, estimates, and the list goes on. File requests, file delivery. We can use each one of those as a possible completion requirement for that journey milestone, and then also build in some steps that, yes, will require an admin approval or the client can self-assess, right? And these now we can lay a layer over top of all the rest of what we have, and that layer is kind of like the final the icing on the cake now, right? After all this is built, we can lay journeys over top and then form this really customizable customer journey that someone in travel can use, someone in accounting can use, someone in event space can use, coaching can use, and it's really customizable. And then, of course, at each milestone of the journey, you'll be able to use our Trigger Actions widget to trigger some circle change or newsletter, email marketing change. So you can change your messaging, change your presentation, change which start page they land on when they log in next time. And I should mention that the journey start page, as I just referred to it, will be an option for setting a start page. So you'll be able to say, I want everybody in this circle to have the journey start page as the first thing they see when they log in. And then that's going to be where they work from as their core, right? Okay, let's Carolyn, good. I'm glad that's what you're looking for also. We are excited about it for sure. Morris, only being around Sweet Dash for a week, initially was introduced from CRM capabilities. Very impressed so far. Thank you, Morris. Do you have recipes for industry types to build a base portal? Example, we are an IT MSP, and our recipe would be different to travel agents. Yeah, so that's we're moving in that direction, Morris. We're doing things like building translation sets that are, I'll give you guys a little sneak peek. Let's see. Let me prepare. Okay. And I'll explain this. I'm going to show you. At first, it might not make sense why I'm showing you this, but I do want to. I think it will lead to the right place. But things like, okay. I think everybody can see my screen now. Okay, so this is the next implementation, the next iteration of translations. So now that this will graduate translations out of beta when this is complete. So you can enable translation functionality. One sec, let me get the zoom right here. And then you'll be able to load a translation set, okay? We will be using what we call official translators who will provide these translation sets for us, for the community. And then you'll be able to you're a new account, and you just signed up with Sweet Dash, and say, Yvonne, for example, you might want to translate it to Spanish for all of your clients there in Colombia. So we can load the translation set. You'll agree to this, and you'll load. And then we're basically going to pull the translation set from the database and load it into your account, okay? And then suddenly you have all of your translations are set up for Spanish. Now, what's interesting though, the way that's built and designed, and this is not an accident, is that we would be able to load, for example, translation sets. We have a Spanish official translator, but what if we also had, Morris, an IT official translator, right? And what if instead of projects, you needed to call it something different, or instead of CRM, you wanted to call it something different. Instead of contacts, you wanted to call it something different. So maybe in Another good example is legal, for example. They might not call projects, they might call it cases or matters, and they might call not clients, they might call them something different. Patients, if you're in the healthcare industry. So in this way, we can have different translation sets that are set up for different industries, and it may not even be through this mechanism, maybe an onboarding wizard where we say, okay, what niche are you in? Are you in IT? Are you in travel? Are you in accounting? Are you in legal? And then you would be able to choose, I want to set up my configuration based on the niche, right? And then we would possibly load the translation set, load particular templates from the template library automatically instead of having you go in and create those or find those and load them. So we are moving in that direction. The best I could say now, Morris, would be that in the template library, we're hoping that, of course, we are trying to put these together as fast as possible, but we're also hoping for a continually increasing community involvement for, especially in niches like travel or community or IT, etc. And you'll find something here that would be useful for you, something like this, right? So a client homepage. This is a community submitted template, right? And this is for portal page. And so then you can take each one of these options here and direct it as you need, right? You can rename it, change the icon. All you need to do is change the icon, and you can move towards this as a start page, or maybe this is just the beginning of what you want to implement. But as we get more and more participation and more submissions, then you might have a better chance of finding something that's really suited for you as far as like a start page or a data page or whatever works for you. Yes, Erdal, we are planning to add more. But as I just said, the real power of this comes from the people who are boots on the ground, who know exactly what they need in your industry, right? So we can't possibly be experts in every industry out there and understand exactly how it should work. And that's a realization that's just truth, right? So what we will encourage and hope for and continue to encourage, and possibly even one day allow you to monetize, wink wink, hint hint, right? One day maybe you would be able to create a perfect IT dashboard, right, out of the tools that we provide, and then upload it here, and for $1.99 or $4.99 maybe, you can get paid for your work. Now that could be something in the future. And would it be worth it to someone who's a professional who's trying to get set up, and maybe they can drop $5 and have an instant, a good starting point in their niche? Yeah, I think so. I think $5 is a small price to ask for, what could end up being a couple days of time. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Is that something that even has merit? What would you think, right? I mean, you would be able to take something that you built, or maybe you just build something that's really cool. And what's cool about these, right? When you submit, yeah, there you go, Tim. When you submit a template, it's not done yet, right? It's still associated with you. And then you can go back in and submit that template over and over again. Meaning not submit it, but we call it update contribution, right? So first you're going to contribute it, right? But then you're the owner of it. It's associated with you, and you can make it better. And then maybe we introduce some new block or new tool that you like. Oh man, that would work great with my template. You go in and update your template, and then update your contribution. And in that way, if we decide to move this into a monetized model, you can essentially have a product in our template library, or multiple products, and spend some time just designing those and keeping them updated. And who knows, depending on the volume that comes through here, if 179 people paid you $5, that's a cup of coffee and a Danish at least. So there you go. There's something that we are considering, and it wouldn't be a big jump here. And we talked about Stripe Connect earlier with someone. Stripe Connect. That's how it would work. Yeah, almost certainly. That's something that's being considered and talked about. Yeah. Well, elevation. It's 100%. It would be optional, right? There would be many free templates, right? But only some people would, there would be premium templates, which would be, someone who chose to actually, spend a lot of time making something really refined and they're incentivized, of course, because they might make a few $100 or a few $1,000 off of it over the course of time. So I think it's a good way to increase the quality of the templates that are here and ensure that quality continues to rise as our user base rises, and I think it's a win-win. Okay, let me make sure I didn't miss any questions, but we're a little bit over time, which is fine. I'm glad that you guys are interested in good questions. Everything's good. Yes, Elevation. Integramat's on the planning, but Integramat works off API. So first functionality and first step in that down that path is the API, which is the core of everything. So still it's in planning, not really a huge part of what we're trying to do. As an all-in-one platform, we do recognize that there are other solutions out there that you guys are using that you want to integrate with, but if we are not super interested, at least at this stage, we would prefer to use all our resources to build our own tools and integrate our own tools at this point. But there's always that's not a statement that means we're not going to make an API. It just means that no, it's closer than that. It'll be a stage thing, right? So if you look at our Zapier integration, you can expect an API around those types of functionalities in much sooner than 18-24 months, probably in Q3. Yep. So some basic API connections. You won't be able to do every single thing that you can do in the application, of course. That would really take a long time. And there's only certain things that people want to use an API for. Add contact, as Yvonne was saying before, right? If Yvonne needs an API probably, or Zapier, but the core of all this is an API connection. He needs an API just to create a contact with certain configuration based on something that happened in another app. So there's certain ones that are important, the most important, and then there's others that can wait till later, or has a very small base of people who want to use it. In which case, yeah, it's just those come later by definition. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I think we're going to go ahead and call this one a day. I do appreciate your time and attention and good questions. Hope it was helpful. I really do. We are here almost every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're doing our best to be consistent here. You're welcome to come back. This is not a one and done. You can come and see us every week if you'd like, and just get your questions answered, absorb more Sweet Dash knowledge. There are several people who are regulars, and good to see all of you. But thanks, and if you have any other further questions that you need help with, help@sweetdash.com is your best route. But until next week, thanks. Have a great rest of your day. All right, bye.